今日はスタッツファソルさんを紹介します。水彩画の先生で、彼のクラスはいつも空席待ちが出る人気のクラスです。極限までいらないものを削ぎ落としたミニマムな美しさを表現するアーティスト。書道、アニメやゲームなどの日本のカルチャーがとても大好きで尊敬しているという彼の創作風景をちょっと覗かせてもらいます。How long have you been painting?
I have pictures that I did when I was 3 years old with my grandfather, who used to draw with me. So I've been drawing from a very early age. I've really specialized in watercolor, and I've been doing it since I was a late teen. I probably started with watercolor in my teens. I had watercolors before that, but I learned how to use them a little bit when I was a teen. And you have to learn how to use a medium. I mean, watercolor takes a while to get a feeling for it, and you really have to let watercolor have its own way to some degree. It's like learning to work with what it will do, and being in love with what it will do. The transparency of it, I always really loved the transparency in the watercolor and what happens when you put one color over another, and the way that light hits watercolor, because it's the most reflective thing when light goes through the paint medium, hits the white paper below and bounces back to your eye. It's very delightful, and none of the other mediums are like that. I mean, the gesture of the human hand, the flow of the water and the medium come together to make a painting for me. And it should be stated that way. It should be stated directly and without too much manipulation. That's what I consider to be an authentic painting, that kind of thing.
Tell me about your studio.
Well, my studio is, I've been working here for about 30 years or so, 35 years, and I have accumulated a lot of junk and knickknacks, and we were talking earlier, I like comic books, so I have a collection of comic books here. I have art books, tons of art books, little art books, and little doodads, little figures. A lot of them are Japanese animation figures, some of these. And I'm actually getting beyond that, though, in my life. Little by little, they're kind of going away, but they're all memories, and it makes a space that I'm comfortable to work in and play in. This is really, in some ways, a play space. Computers here that you can't see, and I have video game machines. I love playing video games, and my regular computers and online stuff. I come here every day. I start here from around 5:30 or 6 a.m. and I paint up until maybe 10ish or so, and then I usually go for a walk and come back later and look at what I've done, and sometimes begin to paint again or change it, but that's my normal routine, and I'm pretty stable with that. I do it pretty much every day.
What is your subject? What inspires you?
And I like buildings. I like communities. I like villages. There's some kind of basic thing in my head about village life and city life where people live their lives and evolve their dreams and so forth. So that subject matter appeals to me, and that's what I use. I use what's around, and light on objects in some ways is my subject, and it can be illuminated, and some parts are in shadows, and that creates a pattern.
You love that?
Yeah, I love it. And I do use photographs as reference to start with, but often they're left behind pretty quickly by the painting, and I just go from painting to painting and not even refer to them anymore.
So, why do you paint?
I've always had a very active imagination. I got a gift of a large imagination, and painting it allows you to explore that in ways that are just pleasurable. So So that keeps me doing it. There's nothing like having other people like it too. So it kind of reaffirms your. I think it's therapeutic. Think about how pleasurable it is. It's also a wicked challenge to do these things. And there's a struggle involved in it, and I enjoy that struggle. Things are happening in your life maybe that throw you off your balance, but I've continued this practice for many, many years, and I get so much from it emotionally and mentally that I'm rarely bored. I love to get up and paint. I love to get up and play. It's like a new day, and the red looks new and the blue looks new, and I go, oh yeah, I remember this blue. This is so blue. Look at how, wow.
What is your goal in painting?
I can do a certain kind of thing every day consistently, but I always want something more than that. Something inspired, something more than what I can do on a regular basis. So that's what I'm always aiming at. I'm always pushing for that. There's a push involved. I'm pushing each day, but I try to keep that not too intense, and it's got to be at a point where I can play. In fact, it's a lot of forgetting who I am and what I want when you get to the actual bit of painting and letting it happen. And I often do things in multiples, like a composition. I'll get a compositional idea that I like, and I'll investigate it through painting, through a number of paintings, and discover. There's great discoveries that happen about shape relations and telling a design story in a way with usually compositions from landscape. And I've just gotten more and more involved in the design part of it as I've gotten older. It used to be I would try to just depict what I saw, and as time goes on, it's much more about letting it evolve. There's an initial kind of fascination with an image. For some reason, it's usually contrast, light and shadow, light on objects and shadow, and the patterns that makes. And over time, I realized those patterns are pure abstraction in a lot of ways. And the balance between that abstract design and a more or less realistic image is what I play with, what I like. But I let it evolve, and that's really where a lot of the pleasure is seeing that evolution and making discoveries. So if I do 10 or 15 paintings of a motif, by about the 13th or 14th, I'm starting to relax a little and letting it go, and different things are happening, and things happen accidentally that I look at and say, oh my goodness, that's what it should be. And it took that time for me to get there. I mean, I'm kind of tight. Everybody talks about tight and loose in painting, but I start tight and I loosen with application of doing them. And I do get up to a point where it's not in my intellect anymore. It's in the body and in the emotions, and that's what I'm looking for. Sometimes you have to go a distance.
Joy of painting.
I'm really into design, as I said earlier, of learning to create a painting trying to create a painting where nothing can be removed from it or added to it. A feeling of unity in the end, and balance, and perfection, and a certain kind of perfection. I don't really want real perfection. But it has a certain authenticity to it that doesn't feel contrived. It's often removing parts of the image to get to a place where you find that balance you like. So when I find it, when it happens, I have that feeling that many people talk about, that I didn't do it, it came through me. And it's a discovery, kind of a moment of discovery, because it's something you could not have planned and happens in a way like coming through you, but you recognize it as, yeah, that's pretty good, that's pretty nice, and that's what I wanted. I didn't know I wanted it, but
There it is.
there it is, and that's happened. You know, we talk about process in art a lot. That is, I come in here and I work, and I do things. I try them. I try this. I try that, and out of that process, things develop beyond which I could have planned and thought of to begin with, and that does have a joy to it, and it has more than a joy. It's magic. It's truly a moment of magic to see something happen that's good, and you didn't really know it was coming. So you go, oh man, thank you to everybody, to it all. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. 教室でいつもとても簡単そうに作品を作り上げているように見えましたが、数々の思考の繰り返しがあることに驚きました。私が日向ぼっこをしている様子を彼が描いてくれた絵は私の宝物です。